All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Flipped Video with Miss Thompson. Today we're going to talk about media and public policy. You should be taking notes in your digital civics notebook, so you can pause me at any time. You can tab back and forth. You can have two devices running, but these are your notes that you need to take and you need to know. So when we talk about media, we are going to be talking about the things that you and I see. Mass media back in the day might have just been newspapers, and then it evolved to radio, it evolved to television, and then today mass media includes internet, computers, social media, all that good stuff. Mass media is information that hits a lot of people at the same time. So how does the media play a role in elections? And what you should be doing is typing out this yellow as well as these blue items, okay? So the media plays a role in election. It tells us who the candidates are, okay? If it wasn't for Fox News, CBS News, Facebook, Twitter, we wouldn't even know who was running for president. And remember back when I was talking about the electors, right, in the electoral college lesson, I was saying that the purpose of the electors was to go around and to let people know who the candidates were, because if you were in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia or out in the country in South Carolina, you might not know this information. The media also tells us the issues that these different presidents want. Okay, if I say, hey, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Trump? You're probably thinking something about a wall, no matter what side of the issue you're on. They tell us, what candidates are going to support gun rights, are going to be against LGBT rights, which candidates want to raise the minimum wage, which candidates want to lower military spending. So the media tells us, educates us on what the issues are. They write news articles as well as political cartoons. The news articles could be for newspapers, they could be for magazines, they could be for internet blogs. They can be, the script for an interview that's going to happen. And they also tell us different points of view. So they'll either have an interview with the candidate or actually interview that candidate on air. There are some news networks that they have commentators that tell us how they feel about different issues. So that is how media is going to inform us of what's going on with the elections. You got to think, without Instagram, without Twitter, without Facebook, without the news, we really wouldn't know much about these candidates at all. So with all of this media, with all of this information being thrown at us from every direction, how do you and I make informed decisions? How do you and I decide who we want to vote on? Sorry, I lost my thought there for a second. So one of the things that we did in class was we did the I side with. And the most common response I heard from you guys was, well, I don't agree with either candidate. And that's okay. And that's good that you were able to look at these candidates and say, well, I don't agree with this person on that issue, or I don't believe with that person on that issue. And that's okay, that's normal. Every voter goes through that. So what do we do when we're going through that process on ultimately who I'm going to click the box for on election day? You have to separate fact from opinion. And that's anything that you do. When you're doing science research, you have to separate facts of what you think should happen or what you thought would happen from what actually happened. When you're doing research in your English class, again, you are looking at what is real versus what is someone's opinion. Detecting bias when the info is one-sided. So if you're going to look up information on Donald Trump, and you got to look at what is only giving one side of the issue, which is when I told you when you guys were doing your campaign presentations, it's okay to bring up the other side and say, okay, this is what Donald Trump wants, this is how Hillary is going to fix it. Or, hey guys, this is what Hillary wants to do, and that's crazy, it's not going to help you at all, this is what Trump would do. Evaluate sources. If you're going to bob.com for political advice versus going to a government website. If you're looking up on issues that Trump supports, maybe go to the Donald Trump official website versus a follower's website that's going to give you the most accurate information. In class, I was telling you, you can go to sites where the candidates were interviewed. They can't deny an interview if they said it, if they spoke it, if it was aired on television, then that's definitely good information that you could use. And finally, you got to identify propaganda. Propaganda are the mass media devices that are made to make us feel a certain way. So think back to World War II and the political propaganda that your teacher showed you last year about, buying Liberty bonds helps you stop Hitler. If you ride, solo to work, you might as well be driving with Hitler, promoting people to do carpools and to save on gas. So that time period was phenomenal for its use of propaganda. And of course, it was American propaganda towards a foreign enemy. So it was pretty regularly accepted. But propaganda is going to be those ads that we see that make us feel a certain way. And so it's good to identify what's propaganda. It's usually not filled with a lot of facts. It's definitely not biased. And it probably comes from a pretty uneducated source, or a source that is filled with love or hate for one of the candidates or the other. So public agenda is when we're trying to get different laws passed. So the media plays a role in public agenda because it makes our attention be specific on a certain issue. Obviously, they want us to pay attention to the laws that will create drama, that will get people fired up. Every year there's thousands of laws that are passed through Congress, that are passed through the Senate, that go to the president's desk. But what are the hot ones? What are the ones that are going to get us passionate, that are going to get us riled up and talking at work and at school about it? That's what the media wants. They don't really get us much information on, sidewalk laws or I'm just trying to think of some random things. But they hit the topics that are going to get people passionate. Also the topics that are going to get their news station money and people watching, so it's going to get them viewers. Media has a forum where different views can be discussed. On their social media sites, on blogs and tweets, on Facebook comments, they want their issues to be discussed, and even negative posts are posts. Negative attention is still attention. I mean, think of when your 3-year-old brother throws a temper tantrum, right? They're still getting attention from mom and dad. That's why they do it. So it's the same reason. Media, if people are talking about the broadcast from, ABC, the 6 o'clock news, hey, guess what? More people might tune in to 6 o'clock news on ABC just to see what all the drama is about. Media also holds these politicians accountable for what they're saying. If you say something on live TV, if you say something on an interview, if you tweet something, you cannot undo that. So basically, these news networks are able to tell us when a candidate does something wrong or does anything wrong or says something contrary to what they stand for. And then finally, the government uses the media to communicate with us. In different speeches that the current president puts out. The reason it's broadcasted in January, the presidential inauguration will go on every single news network. Why? Because it's the government's way of letting us know what's going on if we can't be there. Because we all can't pile to D.C. every time the president makes a speech. I love this chart. Now, this is probably back. I used the same chart last year, and a lot of these guys were, some old candidates that were running. So Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. You might recognize Bernie Sanders' name. Ben Carson dropped out for the Republican Party early on. But let's draw our attention to Hillary Clinton, and then Donald Trump is here at the bottom, not for any reason, but just I don't know how they have this organized. So it's just the different social media accounts that all of these guys have had. For instance, Hillary Clinton, whenever this was taken, she does not have a Snapchat or a Periscope. Donald Trump down here doesn't have a LinkedIn, a Snapchat, or a Periscope. But it just shows you like all of these Facebook accounts and Instagram and a YouTube channel. I'm sorry, this is Meerkat, this is Periscope. I'm sorry, I got them flip-flopped for all of you that were like yelling at me in your head. So all of these social media accounts that when you guys are like, oh my God, Miss Thompson, you have an Instagram? Well, yeah, I do have an Instagram, and look, so do all of these people except for Rick Perry and Carly Fiorina. I don't know who that person is. So everything that you guys think is cool, you think it's cool because it's easy access, it's quick access to your friends, to your celebrities. Well, these guys aren't stupid, and that's why they all have these social media accounts, because we're on it. Their voters are on it. So this is the way that they can communicate with us. Pretty cool. Bernie has everything but a Snapchat. Come on, Bernie. You should have had a Snapchat, then you might have won, right? And then this is, again, this Ted Cruz was an old presidential candidate, but I wanted to pull out some of the information that they pulled. There's a website that is able to analyze your Twitter feed. And you can see, like here, for instance, Hillary, at the time this was taken, she had however many, she had 3.5 million followers. And then some of her most notorious tweets, she's using words like mom, mother. She's using the hashtags for her campaign. She's using the words like day, campaign, sign, or join. Over here, Ted Cruz, he was a presidential candidate running against Trump. Obviously, Trump won the Republican ticket, but he was using words like America and president and promise, join, reignite. So you can see how these social media analysis tools can pull out the most important, the most notable things that these candidates are focusing on in their campaign. So public policy, will just continue on in your notes. Lobbying is a vocab word to know for this unit, and it's an influencing legislator to vote for or against a bill. I used the example in class about the NRA donating money to Trump for his campaign. What are they donating money for? Because they want Trump to side with them if ever he gets the ability to sign, for or against a law that would have to do with guns. That's called lobbying, where you're influencing lawmakers to vote for or against a bill. You're going to lobby them to support you or to not support the other side. So how do people like me and you influence this public policy? We participate, we vote, we campaign, and we can run for office. We can express our opinions, we can lobby, so we can try to go out there and join these interest groups, and we can also write letters, we can write emails, we can comment on their social media accounts, we can post to their social media accounts, and then we can join those interest groups like the NRA, like the No Hate, like PETA, like all the other interest groups I was bringing up in class. We can join those interest groups to ask our lawmakers to side with us on certain issues. And how do those interest groups then influence public policy? They identify the issues that are being brought up. So the NRA is going to bring up this idea of, we need, less gun laws, okay? They're going to make a contribution. They're going to pay, again, Donald Trump for his campaign, and they're going to have rallies, and they are going to have I'm trying to think of the word, but they're going to ask Donald Trump to pass certain laws if he's president that are going to help their interests. So the National Rifle Association wants more gun rights, and they're going to ask not Bill Clinton, sorry, they're going to ask Donald Trump to pass these things if he's president. So in return, they're going to make contributions to Donald Trump's campaign. I think that is it. Slide number 10. Perfect. So go back through the video as needed. Listen to some of the narration. Make sure you guys have all of the blue and yellow written from the beginning. If you have any questions, write them down. Bring them to class. We'll have a small discussion before we continue on with your research and your campaign presentations. Okay? Hopefully I was recording this. I was. Have a great day.